Alright, I know everybody here pretty much knows me, but my name is Justin Coleman. I'm a student at Western Carolina University. I've been going there for almost 4 years now. I'm in my final semester. Last 8 weeks, and I graduated with my 4-year degree in criminal justice. One of my final classes is Communications 201, and in this class I was assigned to give an informative speech. Informative speech is kind of obvious, pretty self-explanatory. It's a speech that's designed to inform people of a specific topic. In this case, I chose how to safely operate an inflatable bounce house business. I know everybody here knows, but I do own and operate All-American Bounce House Rentals. I'm coming into my 3rd season. There's lots of state regulations, lots of things that that you do need to know to operate a business like this, so that's what we're going to discuss here. Alright, 4 of the main discussion topics we're going to talk about is the North Carolina state regulations. That's most important. Safety as it pertains to those regulations, and also setup as it pertains to safety. I will also go over a couple of different types of inflatables, the materials are made out of that, in my opinion, one's much safer to have than the others. So that's why we're going to talk about it. All right, North Carolina state regulations. The best site to find any information on this is the North Carolina Department of Labor's website, which is nclabor.com. It's got all the information you need to know about operating a business like this in North Carolina. There's everything from what insurances you need, what regulations, how to set these up, what materials to use, things like that. Just go onto the website nclabor.com and click under the amusement section. It's same people that inspect them are the ones who inspect like amusement park rides and elevators, things like that. Falls under the same section with the government. 2 of the main regulations that there are is to have a specialty insurance. You're not going to get this under general liability. It has to be a specialty amusement insurance. One of the main carriers of that insurance is Casio Insurance. You can go to their website. It's casioinsurance.com. They have everything on this website that you need to figure out what information about insurance you need in North Carolina. The state requires a minimum of a $1 million policy. Anything over that's fine, but anything under, the state won't pass you with your inspection. So you do have to have a $1 million policy. And whenever you're getting these inspections done, you have to have all your insurance and liability information. As far as the inspections go, they cost $100 per inflatable every year. You have to get each one inspected, and the inspection season runs from March to March. So if you're coming into the 2016 season, by the end of March in 2016, you have to have all your inflatables inspected. If you don't have them inspected, you can come into many fines, things like that. They get pretty strict. And North Carolina is known to be the 2nd hardest state to operate a business like this in, next to New Jersey. They are known to be the hardest. The reason why we have these regulations though is this right here. You see the pictures, these are 2 bounce houses flying away. This happens a lot, unfortunately. And the reason for that usually is operator error. So as long as you do everything right, follow the regulations, secure these things to the ground right, you should not run into this. The goal is obviously for nobody to get hurt, and even worse, we definitely don't want anybody to get killed. And you see the way these things are flying away, they're like big parachutes when the wind takes off with them. So you do things right, you won't run into that problem. Alright, as far as the materials go, all the material has to pass the NFPA 701 test. NFPA stands for the National Fire Protection Association. All the material from every inflatable goes through a rigorous test to make sure that they're not going to catch on fire easily. And certain materials don't, and we'll go into those later. Some materials will go up in flames pretty quick. So if they don't pass that test, you can't use them as far as a business. Places like Walmart and all that will sell inflatables. Those are not the ones you want to use. Those don't go through this test. As far as running a commercial business, you must pass that test. Find more information on the standards and what the materials, what they use to do these tests. You can go to the nfpa.org. There's a wealth of information on there. As far as safety when it comes to setting these up, none of this is opinion based, none of this is my preference, this is all state regulation, all state required. If you look at the first one, I got must use 18-inch long stakes, and they have to be 5/8 inch in diameter thick. When you're staking these down, you hammer them into the ground about a 30-degree angle. It keeps them from being able to rip up. You definitely don't want to stake them in straight down in the ground. So I guess the best, you're grabbing the most ground as possible. So if the wind does pick up, they're not just pulling straight up. If you don't have soft ground such as grass or dirt, something like that, you can use sandbags. Each one of these sandbags, or for instance, if you're setting them up on concrete or asphalt, these sandbags, they have to weigh a minimum of 50 pounds. Most manufacturers require 50-pound sandbags. If you have sandbags or if you have an inflatable that the manufacturer doesn't have a recommendation, then the state will require that to be 75-pound sandbags for each corner. And as far as these sandbags go, it's one sandbag per anchoring point that weighs 50 pounds. Most inflatables have about 4 anchoring points, some have 6. When you're setting them up, you have to use a GFCI switch. It stands for ground fault current interrupter. It's if water hits these where you connect the blower to the extension cord, if water hits it or anything like that, it's gonna blow a fuse before anybody can get electrocuted or shocked. That's what that's for. And as far as your extension cords go, state requires a minimum of a 14 gauge extension cord. I use 12 on all mine. They work fine. 14 gauge will work fine as well. These extension cords, you don't want any of them to go over 100 feet long. That's max that the state will allow for these extension cords. You keep all these cords away from water. You don't want them sitting in standing water. If there's any areas you see that water may flow down, don't sit them up near that area. And actually, they just passed a law this year where the extension cord, the blower plugs into the extension cord, that can't be sitting directly on the ground. You have to elevate that using cones or milk crates, something like that. As far as winds go and inclement weather, the state requires 20-mile-an-hour winds. I do 15, but you can set them up in up to 20-mile-an-hour gusts. I do 15 miles an hour. That's just, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Lightning storms, thunder, any sign of a heavy inclement weather, don't inflate these things. Like I said earlier, and you saw the pictures, these things will lift up and fly away. You don't do things right. As far as people setting them up, you have to be 18 years of age to set them up. And if you are to leave them with somebody, that person has to be 18 years of age as well. You have to, each person that sets them up and the person that they're being left with has to sign a training and agreement form that they're aware of the safety rules, they're aware of these things operating. And Caleb, if you want to pass it around, if you look on the third form, that is the training standards, all the safety regulations, and the fourth form is a checklist. Make sure you covered all these safety regulations. And another thing, one of the last things with safety, one of the last main points is make sure these things don't have any holes or tears or rips in them. As far as the straps go, the anchoring points for the sandbags or the stakes, you can have all the weight holding it down the roll, but if the straps are ripped, frayed, torn, anything, the sandbags aren't going to do any good. If they rip, you got to have them replaced. Holes, you don't want these things deflating while there's kids in them. There's just bad news. Types or brands of inflatables. The type I talked about earlier, like the Walmart quality. Walmart quality inflatables are made out of nylon 420D. It's cheap, it's thin, it tears easy, and they don't go through the NFPA 701 test. They wouldn't even pass it. So that's what we do not use. 18-ounce PVC vinyl is what they're made out of. The commercial grade ones, they're made out of this. It's extremely tough. It's extremely thick. Most of them are puncture resistant. They will withstand most small little pricks. And if PVC vinyl gets a little hole in it, it won't necessarily just deflate. So that's why we use them. If Caleb, once again, you want to pass these around, here's 3 samples. That's 18-ounce PVC vinyl. That's what commercial grade inflatables are made out of. Like I said, if you notice, that stuff doesn't tear easy. It doesn't rip easy. It'll withstand a lot. I've got multiple inflatables out there that have gone through numerous kids jumping on them. I don't have a hole in any of them. A couple reputable manufacturers are Ninja Jump and E-Inflatables. They're all made in the USA. I'd stay away from anything made overseas. I've personally seen that they claim to be 18-ounce PVC vinyl, but they're just thinner. They're cheaper made. And these things have double stitching. The seams are stitched up very well. So, lastly, number one thing is we want all the kids that jump on these to have a great time, but we want them to be safe doing it. Any questions?
No.
All right, once again, I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you.